Good evening. My name's Randy Adkins. I'm your host, and welcome to Sports Sound Off. With me this evening is a former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, former Minnesota Viking, and current St. Louis Ram D lineman, Chris Hovan. Good to have you, Chris.
Thank you, sir, for having me today.
Oh, it's great having you. You know, I know several people who have asked me when they heard you were going to be on, how's Chris doing? How's he doing with his rehab and everything? And you told me beforehand you're still going through the process, but your doctor said today you'd be back at it 100% by March.
Yes, I actually went up to Alabama 2 days ago to the Dr. James Institute, and I saw 3 doctors, Dr. Gio, we call him Dr. Gio, Dr. Jensen, and Dr. James Andrews, and they said that everything's going great, so now I can start, tasting the steel again. You know me, I can't wait to get in the weight room. So I'm very excited. The progression has been a long road. I had to get the first surgery because I had a ruptured disc in my back, and then I had another herniated disc in my back, and I had to get another surgery. So it's been a very long, tedious process, but I'm still standing, and I can't wait to play next year.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's great to hear you be back out there, because the pictures we show of you, I think gladiator.
Well, thank you very much.
It's you're out there, you're in the trenches, you're making it happen. I mean. When get the eye black and the flag tattoo and everything, we see one of these guys, you're a lunch pail guy, you go to work, you make it happen.
Well, you know what, I was taught at a very young age the work ethic. My father was a truck driver. He did it for 30+ years. Never complained. Always woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Came home at 7 o'clock at night. And you know what he did? He came home, ate his dinner, and then he sat in his lounge chair and then went to sleep. And then over the years, as you mature as a person, as an adult, you come to respect what your father did, and it really has an effect on you. So I was very blessed to have such a hard work ethic when I was growing up, and it really perspired to the point where 11 years in the NFL, and I was an All-American in college, and I think I had a pretty good resume.
Yeah, well, you went to BC, you were All-American there.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
You're picked by the Vikings. What are your expectations coming out?
Well, I always wanted to be the best. I was going into Minnesota, and that was John Randall country.
Yeah.
And it was a guy who, in my opinion, it was the toughest shoes to fill, because imagine Anthony McFarland coming down here with Warren Sapp. So it was such a tough process, and especially when John left to go sign with Seattle. It was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of stress.
Fell in some really big shoes.
Yeah, really big shoes. And but the thing is, I got booted out of Minnesota, and it's always getting hard. It's always hard getting fired. But I resurrected my career down in Tampa, and I can't thank Rod Marinelli and Mike Kiffin and Coach Gruden for everything that they did for me. Obviously, this year didn't go the way that I wanted to go, but I'm going to train hard and give it another go for next year.
Well, that's what you love to hear. Now, you talked about a work ethic, and before the show today, we talked some about injuries, and you had a perspective on it that was interesting to me. We talked about how we've been following up with some of the 79 Bucks and some of these guys that are in ALFs with Jerry Eckwood and some of the injuries, and I heard you say to me, I watched my father work for years and years as a truck driver, and as he got older, he wasn't able to really take care of his family in the way that he would have liked to. And you say, it's worth the risk for the injury to go out and do that. Can you speak a little further on that?
It really is. I mean, when you're 19, 20, 21 years old, and all of a sudden you get these grades. One of these grades is called the national grade. The other one's called the Bledsoe grade. And it rates where you are slotted in the next year's draft. Well, when I came out, it was Corey Simon and it was me. And when I had agents lining up at my door, they were telling me I was going to be guaranteed $6 to $7 million. Now, you're going to tell a young man who's 21 years old that you're going to be allotted $6 to $7 million for playing football. I mean, the risk is so high, but at the same time, I had nothing. Can you imagine how many players throughout the NFL grew up from nothing? And they're telling you, Like Gerald McCoy, $45 million,
Right.
guaranteed. I mean, you can't tell a young man, no, you can't play because the value way outweighs the risk.
Yeah, you just got to take that chance, and then not only that, even if your body is deteriorating a little bit, you're able at the in your 40s and 50s to provide in a way that other people just couldn't.
Well, yeah. But the thing is, you're not walking right. It's hard to hold your kids. I mean, it takes a toll on you, but it's a very violent game. But the thing is, when we signed the dotted line, we knew the risk. We knew the risk that we're taking, and we know every time that we cross that white line on Sundays that it's going to be a violent collision, especially if you play, in between those tackle boxes. These guys are now 360, 370, 400 with a biscuit, and these guys are coming with physical, violent force on you. So the game is only going to get more violent, and I don't feel lucky for a lot of these kids coming out.
Well, I mean, we were talking beforehand. I'm at 285 right now, and I asked what was your playing weight.
My playing weight, is 305. Last year I played at 320, and last year was not my better year. The thing was, I was never a two-gapper. When I was drafted coming out, in 2000, I was always the guy who was a one-gap penetrator, and that's how I made my niche in the NFL. I would always try to create a new line of scrimmage. I would always try to disrupt offensive schemes, and I would always try to create havoc. I remember a commentator telling me one time, "This guy's like a bowling ball with knives." And I thought that was I thought that was a great compliment that I could ever receive. So, but what happened was, toward the end of my stint in Minnesota, I had to play two gap, and then last year I had to play two gap. So, it just goes to show that those are those type of players in the NFL that fit those type of schemes. Like a James Harrison.
Right.
He's a true outside.
He is an outside guy.
And you know what? He can rush his butt off.
Yeah. You really can't.
I have the most respect for him, and he's taking a stance against this whole fine thing. But the thing is, he's still playing as vicious as
yeah.
He really doesn't care.
I wouldn't want to be coming down the line and saying Harrison's coming at me. That's not a good plan.
Absolutely not, sir.
not a good plan at all. I tell you what, for those that want to join this conversation, you can call in here to the studio at 813-254-7820, or you can drop us an email at sportsoundoff@aol.com. Chris, we were talking a little bit earlier. You were talking about being a parent. You have a lovely wife and kids, and so often we don't hear about that with the guys that are on the sidelines. And we hear about it, but not as much as you're talking about. You talk about not being able to carry your kids and that kind of thing.
Right.
What's your greatest joy as a father?
My greatest joy is just to be able to wake up every day and first of all, wake up next to my beautiful wife. I just scored a lot of points right there.
That's right.
I love you, Jamie, more than anything in this world. But the thing is I've had 3 beautiful children in 2 years. I guess you want to call them Irish triplets, but they changed my life. At first it was frustrating with all these diapers and all the crying, and you never really understand what they're saying and whatnot. But in the end, they really domesticate you, and they really, garner your love. And there's nothing better in this world to have 3 kids that, when you come home from work, they say, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." Yeah. And that's something that money can never buy. Right. And I'm so proud to be a parent. I'm so proud to be a husband, to my wonderful wife, and I'm so blessed, and I couldn't thank the Lord for anything more.
That's great. Now I got to ask you this question. We were talking a little bit before, and you had mentioned it, getting back in the gym and the camaraderie of being on the team, being separated from the team. Does it feel completely different during the season for you because of that?
Yeah, it's very hard. Playing. Ever since I was in 3rd grade, whether it's been Pop Warner through the Catholic leagues in Cleveland, and then I played at all boys high school in St. Ignatius, went to Boston College, Minnesota, then Tampa Bay and St. Louis. You miss that camaraderie in that locker room because every day there's always a story, man. Right. No matter how bad it is, if it's Wednesday and you see on the wall pads. You know what? Some guy has always got a remark, to make you smile. Because the thing is everyone's going through that misery. So so you might as well laugh about it.
We just recovered from the weekend and
yeah.
You're walking back in. You're like, oh.
It was like the time when we used to play Green Bay when I was in Minnesota. You knew that.